You're driving a taxi at your age, old man. The door slammed. Hard. The sound echoed through the yellow cab like a gunshot. Michael Thompson, 68, didn't flinch. His weathered hands remained perfectly still on the steering wheel. Behind aviator sunglasses, his eyes stayed fixed ahead. No reaction, no words. The young businessman threw himself into the back seat. Armani suit wrinkled from a long day, Rolex catching streetlight. That familiar look of someone who believes the world exists for his convenience. Hidden in the glove compartment beneath faded maps, a metallic badge caught a sliver of light. Captain Michael Thompson, 35 years service. The passenger couldn't see it. Not yet. But in exactly 15 minutes, 200 people would be standing and applauding at JFK Airport. And this arrogant young man would discover who he was really talking to. Michael turned the key. The engine purred like a contented cat. Still no words from the captain. The businessman was already on his phone. "Yeah, the pilot better be experienced tonight. I hate turbulence." He laughed without humor. "Remember that Captain Thompson guy? Now that was a real pilot. Artist in the cockpit." Michael's grip tightened on the wheel. Just slightly. The businessman noticed nothing. "Where to?" "JFK Terminal 4. Make it fast." The yellow cab pulled into Manhattan traffic. Michael drove exactly like he'd flown. Smooth, calculated, always 3 moves ahead. The businessman kept talking about pilots, about flying, about legends he'd never meet. If only he knew. 14 minutes remaining. The taxi moved through city streets like a ghost. Michael studied the passenger through the rearview mirror. Still talking. Still completely unaware he was sharing space with aviation history. "That Captain Thompson?" the businessman continued. "Heard he disappeared after some incident. Real shame. Guy was untouchable in the cockpit. Could land a 777 in a hurricane." Michael said nothing. Sometimes silence carries more weight than words. 13 minutes. The badge in his glove compartment shifted as they hit a pothole. The engraving caught light. American Airlines Distinguished Service. 35 years of perfection. Until one winter day changed everything. The businessman's phone rang. "Yeah, I'm in a cab. Just some old driver, nothing special." Nothing special. Michael had heard worse during his decade of invisibility, but tonight felt different. 12 minutes. They passed a billboard. American Airlines. Fly with experience. Michael almost smiled. If they only knew their most experienced pilot was 3 blocks away driving a taxi. The businessman ended his call. "You been driving long?" 10 years. "What did you do before?" The question that always opened old wounds. "Transportation? Buses?" Something like that. 11 minutes. JFK appeared on the horizon, lights blinking like earthbound stars. Michael had seen those lights from above countless times, from the cockpit of a 777. When his name meant something, the businessman scrolled his phone. "Look at this. They're honoring old pilots tonight, some ceremony. I'd give anything to meet one of those legends." Michael's hands trembled, barely. The irony was suffocating. 10 minutes. They entered airport approach roads, taxis everywhere, buses, travelers carrying dreams of distant places. Michael had carried those dreams. 300 passengers at a time, across oceans, through storms, home safe, every single time. "Terminal 4, the businessman specified. Michael nodded, the place that held his past, his pain, his pride. 9 minutes. The hidden badge seemed heavier now, calling to him. 35 years of service reduced to metal in a glove compartment. The businessman leaned forward. "You know, driver, you remind me of someone. Something about how you handle the wheel. Very professional." Michael's heartbeat quickened. "Just trying to get you there safely. I flew American Airlines my whole career. Had this Captain Thompson. Never felt safer. Guy had this presence, this quiet confidence. The words Michael wanted to say built pressure in his chest like steam, but they stayed buried. 8 minutes. They approached Terminal 4, Michael's former kingdom, where crews once saluted him, where passengers thanked him, where his name was legend. Guy could land anything anywhere, the businessman continued. Then one day, gone, vanished. Wonder what happened to him. 7 minutes. Michael's decade of carefully constructed walls began cracking. This stranger had just delivered the most accurate assessment of his downfall he'd heard in years, from someone who didn't even know he was talking to the man himself. Men like Captain Thompson don't just stop being pilots, the businessman mused. It's not what they do, it's who they are. 6 minutes. They pulled up to departures. The businessman reached for his wallet. Keep the change, driver. You've been professional. Reminded me of better times. Michael's hand moved to the glove compartment, slowly, like reaching for something sacred. 5 minutes. The badge emerged, polished metal catching terminal lights like scattered diamonds. Captain Michael Thompson, American Airlines, 35 years distinguished service. What's that? The businessman asked, his arrogance evaporating. Michael held it to the light. Every letter gleamed with crystal clarity. The businessman read it. His face went white. You're him, the Captain Thompson. Michael nodded once, slowly, with quiet dignity. 4 minutes. But why are you driving a taxi? Life changes, Michael said. Sometimes we fall, sometimes we disappear, sometimes we drive taxis, waiting for the right moment to remember who we are. The businessman was speechless. 3 minutes. The terminal doors opened. 2 men in pilot uniforms walked out. They saw the taxi, saw Michael. Their eyes went wide. Captain Thompson, Jake Morrison, Steve Rodriguez, his former crew, now senior captains. Jake was already on his phone. Code Alpha, get everyone here now. Captain Thompson is back. The Captain Thompson. 2 minutes. The terminal erupted. Doors flew open. Pilots poured out. Flight attendants, mechanics, ground crews. Word spread like wildfire. The legend is here. Captain Thompson, he's alive. More people, dozens, then hundreds, all running toward one yellow taxi, all drawn to one name they thought was lost forever. 1 minute. 237 people surrounded the taxi, standing, applauding thunderously, tears streaming down weathered faces. 10 years of wondering, 10 years of missing their captain. Michael stepped out, his posture changed, shoulders straight, the invisible weight lifting. He wasn't just a taxi driver anymore. He was Captain Michael Thompson again. Steve approached with a folder. Mike, we need you back. Head instructor, advanced simulator program. Train the next generation. Will you do it? Michael looked at the crowd, at the faces showing profound respect, at the recognition he thought he'd lost forever. 0. Yes, he said. I'll do it. The crowd exploded. Cheers echoed through the terminal. Applause that seemed to shake the building's foundations. The legend was home. The businessman stepped out, shaking. Captain, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. Michael smiled without bitterness. Son, you couldn't have known. Sometimes we all need to be invisible for a while, to remember who we really are. That night, Michael drove home through Queens, the signed contract beside him, his future secure. But he kept the taxi. Some lessons only come from the ground. 3 months later, he stood in million-dollar flight simulators, passing 35 years of wisdom to eager young pilots. They called him the legend with genuine reverence. But weekends, he still drove his taxi, still served people who didn't know his story, still found dignity in honest work. His first day back, a young pilot asked, Captain, What did you do during your time away? Michael smiled, pulling out both his instructor badge and taxi medallion. I drove a taxi for 10 years. Most valuable experience of my career. Silence. Amazement. The sky teaches you control. The ground teaches you humility. Both make you a complete pilot. He looked at each young face. Every passenger trusts you with their life. Whether they're in first class at 35,000 feet or in the back seat of a taxi at street level, that trust is sacred. The young pilots understood. They were learning from someone who had mastered both worlds. Michael continued teaching during the week, driving weekends, both taxi driver and airline captain, perfectly balanced. One Saturday night, picking up a fare at JFK, he smiled at his reflection in the rearview mirror. His aviator sunglasses gleamed. His airline badge caught the light. "Your past doesn't define your future," he said quietly. "You define your future." The engine hummed through Manhattan streets, but tonight it sounded different, like distant aircraft engines, because real pilots, no matter what vehicle they operate, always fly somewhere in the endless sky of possibility. And those 15 minutes at JFK? They weren't just time. They were proof that redemption arrives exactly when you need it most. Sometimes miracles emerge from ordinary moments. Michael's began in a glove compartment hidden beneath old maps, waiting for the perfect moment to shine again. The badge rides with him still, not hidden anymore, not shameful. A reminder that every ending is really a beginning. Every fall prepares you for flight. Every ordinary moment holds extraordinary possibility. Michael Thompson learned that lesson the hardest way possible. It made him not just a better pilot, but a better man. He drives through the city now with quiet pride, both identities intact, both equally important. The taxi driver who was once a pilot, the pilot who learned wisdom from driving a taxi. At red lights, he sometimes catches other drivers looking at him with curiosity. An older man in aviator sunglasses, driving with unusual precision. They wonder about his story. If they only knew that legends walk among us every day, usually invisible, always ready to remind us that greatness isn't about titles or recognition. It's about bringing people home safely, one passenger at a time, whether from 35,000 feet or 3 city blocks. That's what Captain Michael Thompson does. Every single day, in whatever vehicle life puts him behind the wheel of. Because once a pilot, always a pilot. The altitude doesn't matter. The mission stays the same. Fly safe. Bring them home. Never forget that someone's counting on you to be better than you think you are. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe to Archive Occulto. Because every person you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. And sometimes, the most ordinary-looking person is actually the most extraordinary of all.